Al-Qaeda and this against the US, it's really the old fight of Christianity and Islam. And Islam obviously has the upper hand because they are blessed now by being the chosen one of the Klipa, of the evil side, which is the Satan picks them. Obviously it doesn't mean everybody, there's always good people again. It just means whoever is not good, they're the ones who's not good. And they're the ones who are having reign and success these days, as we see. They're able to pull off what they're able to do. You know, it's not a small feat to go against the US and fool them as much as they do. So, it also, it says in a certain place in the Yalkut that in the end of time, it says Paras, Persia, will take over the world, or will attempt to take over the world, meaning they'll be powerful, that powerful, and they will threaten the Jews, and it'll be a time of horror, a milchemet mehuma. Mehuma means horror or terror. It's interesting they use that word, you know, because we know there's wars, but who ever heard of a war of terror? So it's actually brought down, that phrase, a war of terror. Not a war of guns. It's more of a terrorizing war. That's what we see. Where it's just fear. I mean, it's more fear than ever before because of this whole, what's going on. And it says that it's going to be very scary for the Jews. The Jews are not going to know to run here. They're not going to know to run there. And it's going to be scary for them. Like, as we see we're in, you know. But then in the middle of all that, and this it says in the Midrash, in the middle of all that, God is going to all of a sudden bring out a bat kol, which means a heavenly proclamation or a heavenly voice, okay? And say, you know, my children, do not worry. This is over. And it says, Higia zeman geulatchem. The time of your redemption has arrived. And here it is. And he shows it. Now let's try and understand this midrash. First of all, people in the past tried to make this midrash fit with other wars that had happened, like when Iraq was fighting, you know, with Iran, but even though Iran was not the Iran it was today, obviously they just got powerful just now. But that Iraq war with Saddam Hussein and all of that, some rabbis wanted to say that that's really what the midrash meant. It really meant Iraq will be powerful. But it, you know, was trying to fit the puzzle piece where it didn't belong, hoping it was the end. You know, every war we wanted it to be the end. So we tried to fit everything to be. So only until recently did we really understand what this midrash was talking about. It was really unclear to people, and even to the greatest rabbis, what this midrash meant, because Iran was a nothing on the map. There was no reason to think they're going to take over the world or can. So there was no making sense of that midrash.
Midrash didn't fit. Everything else fit.
Exactly. All of a sudden, now in the last few years, we see the truth of that midrash. So in a way, it's exciting but scary. It's exciting because it means we're getting to the end. But it's scary because who knows what has to happen in order to get to the end, like it said. Now there's two things to think of in order not to be scared. We could think that a lot of that terror happened already, because who says it has to get worse from today? Maybe that's what it meant. It happened. All that terror that happened and all the threatening of Iran was the terror. Doesn't mean they have to do something. It could be the terror itself was the threat. So it could be finished now. Maybe God will just wipe it out and that'll be the end of it. So we really don't have to worry. It could be that. And obviously that's what we're hoping and praying for. Secondly, if it's not supposed to be the end, we can ward it off and make it the end by doing teshuvah. A little extra teshuvah and a little extra loving each other can make that last tip of it not have to happen. And that's a rule we always have. So there's two things to feel good about. You know, Bezrat Hashem, it was the end. We went through it. And if there's still a little more, maybe with extra teshuvah, and we have it. You know, there's all kind of groups of Lashon Hara, Shmirat HaLashon, learning the laws of Lashon Hara. Not that they go around speaking Lashon Hara, obviously. And groups of people that read Tehillim. So there's a lot of Torah and mitzvot going on. So that's why I'm saying, even if it's not the end, maybe that in that zechut, it'll kind of push off the end and not have to be. Now then you might say, but how did we know it had to happen? Well, that's how we believe. We believe that if something didn't happen, hopefully we pushed it off, or Hashem had other reasons not to do it. But that's what we try and do. So it's not really per se that scary of a time right now. I believe that most of the scares has Bezat Hashem passed already. Not to say that things won't happen sporadic. Obviously we see what happened even yesterday. So it doesn't mean there's not going to be anything going on, but as a mass thing, it doesn't have to be anything like that. Now, in the time of Megillat Esther, you had Achashverosh and Haman. They were the two bad guys. People who wanted to destroy the Jews. Okay? And it's interesting, when you say the word Ach, a brother, okay? Ach is a brother, like Esav is the brother of Yaakov. Sometimes the brother, like we said once before, family is always the worst enemy. Esav is family, Yishmael is family, because they have the blessing of Abraham Avinu. Okay? So when you say Ach, it's always like the evil brother, the other side brother. So Achashverosh could be said to be the brother of the next word. Aleph Chet is Ach. What's the next three letters? You have to go Sh. It's Shin Vav Resh. Shor. We say Achashverosh, but it's Shor. Shor is an ox. And the ox always represents Yosef. So he's like the anti-Yosef man. Meaning the brother, like the anti-brother, so to speak, of Yosef, who tries to destroy Yosef. Achashverosh, who represents Achashverosh, and Haman. Haman was Amalek. Amalek is always the one who goes against Yosef. You see? So it's right in his name, Achashverosh. Now, the leader today, in our Purim story, we have Ahmadinejad. So I heard from Rabbi Shimon Kessin that his name also has something to learn from it. When Hashem names people, it also has a lesson in it. It's not just haphazard that he has a name like that. So there's got to be something in it. So let's see. So he says, if you kind of split the name up, it's Ach for Achashverosh, Ma or Man, they even call, or could, depending on the accent, for Haman. So you have Achashverosh, already Haman. Din means justice, which is basically what all this is about, God's justice. And jihad is a holy war, which is what it's also all about, what they try and do, which is what we're scared of. So you have Ahmadinejad has all that in there, almost to show that that's what's happening. This is it's a recurring Purim story with the two leaders back then all wrapped up into one person now. And he wants to rid Israel off the map. It's the same story.
Arafat also is Ar from Harur.
Yeah, but that was an Ayin. But Ayins and Alephs do interchange. That's interesting too. But God already did away with him. Now here's another thing. So many times we've had midrashim that say that we're going to have this war and that war. We always find a war in the midrashim, right? But it hasn't been the end. So why are we so sure this is the end one? Maybe it's just another one. And we're going to still have to wait. And there'll be more. We always said, in the last 20 years, you know how many wars we've seen? This is the last one, this is the last one. Because we found it in the midrash. Because we found it in Yeshayahu or somewhere, this is it. But it never was it. We're still waiting. So why do we think this is the last one? Why should we get so excited now? Because there's an answer for that. All the other midrashim were just stating that there'll be this type of a war. No one ever said it's the end. This one, the Midrash says that God says it's the end. He didn't say that in the others. We made the mistake because we picked it and we found it. Everyone started saying all over the place that this is the end. But the Midrash never said that. It just said this will be this people will fight with this people. So we found it and we assumed that meant that it's the end. But no one ever said it was the end. This one, it says that God will say your redemption time has come. So that's why we can feel comforted that this one really is the end. So when this finally will happen and be over, it looks like it really is smooth sailing from there.
When what's over?
This whole Iranic irony. What's happening, okay? All we have to do is get through this small period of time now, which I said God can wipe it out at any time, and then we really can suspect that the real redemption with the real Mashiach to shake his hand will finally be here. Instead of always he's around the corner and he's around the corner. You know, how long can he be around the corner already? Just come in already. So hopefully this is it and we'll be able to shake his hand soon enough. Now there's an interesting pasuk in Tirumah. It says, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham. And the Baal HaTurim says like this.
What about Haman? Can we shake Haman's hand?
Why would we want to?
If he's here, why not?
Well, he's an evil man. We don't want to get his evil energy. You know, it's also something. Because when you shake hands, it's actually the energy of the hands meet, and you right, and it does form a koach, but it's also a spiritual energy thing as well as a physical energy thing. It's not just doing this; it does something. So you're grabbing some of the energy of the other person. So in a way, it's not so good to shake hands with a rasha. You shouldn't even look at a rasha, they say. You shouldn't look, because if you look in his eyes, you also kind of grab from the energy. It's a spiritual thing. You know, sometimes you could look in the face of a rasha and all of a sudden your mood changes. You just feel down. You're in a bad mood. It could be because of that. So we don't know. All this isn't taught. We don't know how these things work. But we should stay away from people that we know are no good. Now, if we don't know, that's a different story. But let's not go on a tangent too much. The pasuk says, "V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham." You shall make for me a sanctuary, mikdash, v'shachanti betocham, and I will dwell among you. Did we talk about this once before?
Yes.
I'm going to go. Okay. So the Baal HaTurim says, if you take the word v'shachanti, I will dwell. So it's v'shachanti in two words. You can make it. T is taf yud, 410. The first Beit HaMikdash lasted 410 years. So it's already encoded in the word. Hashem said, I will dwell, and he's saying how long he will dwell in that Mikdash, Beit HaMikdash. The second one, if you take from the word V'shachanti and you take out the words V'sheni, because it's in there, you're left with Taf Kaf, 420. And the second one lasted 420 years. So look how one word has the truth of how long 1 and 2 temple will last. That's what the Baal HaTurim says. Now I'm going to leave that alone for now.
That's really how long they lasted?
Yep.
Yes, says in the Gemara. Now I want to get to something else, and we'll get back to